All right, well, we're live. Welcome, everybody. So, Brian White and I are co hosting this show. It's an impromptu live stream. It's not even Friday. Brian, why did we decide to do this? But basically, we just were starting to talk about the Tesla stock, as many of has us have been doing, especially in this time period that's happening now. Both Brian and I are long term investors, but there's a lot of us who are concerned and wanting to know what might happen in Q4, both positive and negative. Let's go through a bunch of them. Welcome, Brian. Thank you for joining me. This is fun. We haven't done
This
one
is
in a
fun.
while.
We never do simulcasts. We never do live streams anymore. You never call her right. I miss you, buddy. I miss you.
I don't call it right. We see each other every Wednesday, dude. We do.
Every
We
Wednesday.
but our shows, we rarely talk about the stock. We always you drop facts about the business all the time. Today, let's talk about the different milestones out there. Let's invite people in the audience. If you have questions, let's come up. And if you can join us, please join us as well in the live stream. Let's make it fun. So, obviously what happened was not good, but we've been through this. All of 2022 was terrible. It was terrible. I feel like we're back there again, but tell me if I'm wrong, but after the earnings call, many people have been saying that there doesn't there doesn't seem to be a short-term catalyst, that all the short-term catalyst was removed and there may not be a floor. What was your reaction?
That's crazy talk. That's crazy talk. The catalysts are unchanged. The catalysts are still what they were. It's we've got I don't know if anyone out there watching has heard this, but there's rumor that there's a new pickup truck coming and that it may be important to the to the stock price. Now, is it important to the company's intrinsic value? Not in Q4, but guys, the company exists in the future as well. I am a time traveler. You know that I know this. And so far, my plan of traveling through time forward at a 1-to-1 ratio has served me reasonably well. But I think it's ridiculous to look at little things and think it's the end all be all, but not look at the positives that are going to come out of it. Now, we could see a big pop when Cybertruck comes out because
No.
you don't think
Let's
so?
debate it.
You don't
Let's
think the
debate that.
excitement around it? Yeah, I think
Let's
the
debate that.
excitement around it is going to be
Okay.
huge.
Okay, well,
Why would you?
let's slow your horses, dude. Slow your horses, man. Okay, so number one, you just said you're a time traveler. Tesla investors in general are time travelers. They always look forward. So you can argue that everybody already knows that Cybertruck's going to be launched on November 30th. Everybody have seen the trucks. It's not net new information that's going to pop, shock the world. He's already warned everybody that it's going to be slow going, a handful, maybe hundreds, maybe for lucky, this quarter. So unless Tesla somehow says, "Oh, we've solved the scaling, and now we're going to do thousands, and we're going to hit," no, they've already said that we have kind of this limit of don't expect anything until the 2025. So why do you think now? People are saying, I agree with you on the other side of the argument that it's advertising on steroids. As you see this out there, people are gonna, is that called the halo effect. So that part I get. Maybe have more sales of the Model 3s and Model Ys. But why is the Cybertruck gonna cause a pop in the stock? You tell me.
Why did the Hertz announcement cause a pop? They announced we're going to buy 50,000 cars, which would at the time have been 10% of Tesla's previous year's production, and yet the stock absolutely mooned. It went up 30% on the news. Maybe it's because people just love football player endorsements on television. I don't know, but it was just the start of a new chapter. It was just, we're going to be doing something we've never done before. And it wasn't even Tesla doing it. It was an outside force saying, look, we've got this theory that if we make this premium car available, we will get new customers, not just keep customers, but attract a whole new class of customers, a whole new category that we weren't previously getting. People who are loyal to Avis or budget, people who want to feel the Hertz. They got a good opportunity there. And I would have thought, surely that would have helped the stock. But as much as it did, it was, in fairness, there were a bunch of catalysts that all happened at once. Hitting the 500,000 was a big deal. Hitting the, you know, all the other milestones at the same time. The cash flow, the budget, the factories ramping as expected. But the Cybertruck is a whole different beast. And I think we're going to see the marketing material coming out. We're going to see the crash testing. We're going to see the bullet testing. We're going to see the water testing. And I think
Mm.
it's going to uh, create an awful lot of buzz. When Tesla, Tesla, when Tesla Model X delivered uh, astronauts to the launch pad in the Model, at for the first
Mhm.
crewed
Mhm. I
mission,
remember that.
people were excited. They're like, I want to get in on this SpaceX stock. Well, there is no publicly traded SpaceX stock. So the next day, Tesla stock went up. And, because it's the halo.
Well, so it is true that every time you have a Tesla releases a new product, which is a Model 3, Model Y, now the Cybertruck, the stock does rise. But the reason is because they can see that it's a new segment, right? New total addressable market, but it's going to rise, but it won't rise in Q4. It's going to rise over time over 2024 as they see that it's now, the production line is scaled. They can now see the reaction from the market. There are some people who still think it might not be a success, which is crazy. But on the other side, I can agree with you that if because we don't know a lot, and there's promise, right? We had what's this guy that Larry Ellison from Oracle. We've had other people say, "Hey, the Cybertruck is going to have technology that's going to shock you." And so that could be the case if there was something cool about this that just captures the imagination of people. That could be true. And I will tell you, okay, I will tell you just again, bolstering your argument for you because I need to help you out. My brother was not an investor in Tesla, and I've been talking about it for 8 years. Ignored me. All my family just kept ignoring me. Here he goes again talking Tesla, until the Cybertruck was presented. He then decided to invest in Tesla, and now he can't stop talking Tesla. So he and I did. It was because of the Cybertruck unveil. So.
So I would say, yes, getting units out is more valuable than having one or two. But this is the most visible vehicle that's ever been made. You will not mistake it for something else. And
Mhm.
these sightings are unmistakable. So even if they only have 500 out on the road, everybody's going to see one. Everybody will notice it when it goes by. It's not like a lot of the other trucks out there. There the last truck that was really memorable in its appearance that I can think of was the SSR, the Chevy one that was a little convertible bubble. And those were a halo car. They didn't sell in very high number. And even with as high as the sales eventually got, I've probably only ever seen 8 or 10 in my life, and most of them were at car shows. So this is going to be, it's going to be
Mhm.
so undeniable in its visibility that I think it's going to make a big difference.
I think so. You made a good point there, which is it's not just the Cybertruck needs to launch, it's also that there's capitulation by the competitors. And the truck, not that I don't know much about this, I'm not a truck guy, but apparently in the US, the truck is massively important, right? Huge
Right?
market. And then they've just announced Ford said that F 150, GM, what is it? They just expanded the strike at Stellantis Ram truck. GM talked about delaying their trucks. And so when there's this realization by the investors that, okay, not only is Cybertruck going to come, they could take over because all of our competitors are struggling at this point. So that,
There are advantages to being the first mover in any space. Ford really tried to do that with the Lightning, got out there, realized these are really expensive to build. And we're not taking sales away from Cybertruck because it doesn't exist yet. We're taking sales away from ourselves. We're taking sales away from our other vehicles that are more profitable at our own expense. We've seen layoffs at the Lightning plant. We've seen the Silverado has been pushed back by a full year. You were saying that, what is it, the Kansas? No. There was an expansion to the strike at Ford that I think now impacts one of the Ford truck lines. The Ram line is now striking. So just like during the pandemic, where we saw other car companies struggling while Tesla refused to cancel their orders and went full steam ahead, uh, this could be another one where we see Tesla getting ahead through an unforced error in the competition. because Tesla will be taking away sales from the legacy guys. And the legacy guys will really have to step up if they want to get sales back from Cybertruck.
Yeah. Again, okay, it has to be something net new info for it to pop in Q4. And the sales you're talking about it'll take 224 somewhere halfway there, a second half before somebody will notice that those numbers are going down and ours is going up, something like that. Yeah. So here's one that could pop the stock. Buck Brinson says that I believe the next big pop will be when an OEM announces an agreement to license FSD. So we've heard, somebody like Jeff Lutz, who's been on my show quite a number of times, he says that he believes that this could happen in FSD licensing, which is really shocking because he's very conservative usually. So let's break that down and talk about that for a little bit. So I'm usually the optimist. I'm usually the one going, oh my God, I can't wait. He announced that there was an early discussions of an FSD licensing in the last quarter earnings call. They did not say anything this quarter, right? And if it was, where would it be? So as I talk to people, they think that it needs to be in the US because it is where FSD has been used the most. You don't have FSD approved in Europe yet or China. And so it needs to be in the US. But the problem is the three big automakers here in the US, they're in the middle of a union. They're not going to go and talk about a licensing to FSD at this point, number one. Two, some people believe that you need to have FSD kind of like FSD 12 come out and a little bit more confidence that this is now a step change above what we've been seeing before anybody would do a licensing. And then three, we've had Alexandra say that there's a new Nissan minivan that they came out and said is a robo-taxi kind of ready product. And that maybe Nissan makes more sense that they would announce the partnership with somebody like that. And then would they do it in China? Would it be one of the Chinese automakers that would say we've got a partnership with Tesla? I don't think so either. And certainly not the European ones. So what's the likelihood in your mind?
I'll go more bearish than you on these because I don't see FSD being licensed to anyone until it is done, until it's completely done. They could license Autopilot. I think that would be a good choice, maybe with an option in there to expand it as it makes sense. Tesla does have a very low power consumption kind of system that's highly effective, even when it's just being used for forward traffic collision warnings and whatnot. So but I don't see the other big problem is, as Sandy Monroe likes to point out, the legacy guys suffer from NIH syndrome, not invented here. And if we didn't invent it, we don't like it. And that only goes so far. I mean, we've seen these companies buy whole cars from each other and rebadge them, but I don't see an announcement on licensing coming this year. There was a comment on here I wanted to mention. Let's see here. There was this is an important one. Let me pull it up. It says, the fundamentals are what matters long term. Random overpops that draw back down don't matter unless you're a trader. And I would agree with that.
Oh, we both agree with that. But
yeah.
No, but I mean,
but people do watch the stock daily and enjoy watching it. And then Matt Senkow said, when Legacy tries to ramp up again after the strikes, we're going to have round 2 of, oh no, the supply chains, you guys. The supply chains are the problem. So, yeah, we'll see about that.
No,
because they love their excuses.
Yeah, we set this up with both of you and I are both long-term investors. We both agree with that. We're not following the stock on a daily basis. And the reason why we're bringing this topic up is that it's just this is it different what happened after the earnings call? Do people feel like there was all the rug has been pulled and there's no more catalyst for this quarter? And so if you wait long enough, 6 months longer, this will all be forgotten. Not a big issue. Totally agree. But is there a floor to might happen in the next 6 months?
Well, still talking about the upside, we're going to start seeing what Model 3 refresh numbers look like in Europe and China before the end of the quarter. The China numbers.
Tell me about that right now, Brian. So
Sure.
they just announced that Model 3, we call it the Plus, right? It's the Model 3 Plus. Previously, the Highland was the code name.
It's the code name. Mm-hmm.
So just 2 days ago, we saw that they were now being delivered in Netherlands and Germany, maybe even Australia, but multiple countries have now said that they've received it. So that was a shocker to me that they're actually distributing it to multiple countries. I thought it may be just Europe first. Tell me what's happening with that.
So the different countries have different rules on what you can do to sell a car. Hey, we got one more in here real quick. In Europe, they have to go through testing. In China, they have to go through testing. And so in all those cases, they have to figure out what they have to do to get it certified for road use. In the US, uniquely, manufacturers get to self-certify, which is very strange. So it looks like they've passed all the hurdles to sell it in Europe. And realistically, that should happen any day in China if it hasn't already.
Okay, so Sat, welcome. Sat is a long-term investor in Tesla. He's attended every single one of the investor meetings that they have. Sat, do you think that the Model 3 Highland is going to have any impact to the fourth quarter stock movements?
Hi, thanks, Herbert.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's great that you asked me that question because I actually checked out the Highland Model 3, the new refresh Model 3 in person.
Right.
And
Where were you?
I was in Japan, and they have it going around for every store for like a week, and they have it. I think they still have it like 4 or 5 days at the airport as well in Tokyo. So I was able to take a lot of photos. I looked at it. I think it's phenomenal, the amount of work that they put into it to upgrade it, and still didn't increase the price. It's whatever the price has been. So I think it's going to have a bigger impact than most people would assume because it's a very good value. Like, I want to change my car just to get that interior. It's amazing. Like, it blew my mind. Just the whole entire lighting, the fixtures, everything seems so premium. And to get it at that price, I don't know how you could do better than that. It's just the redesign was really phenomenal. I think even the panels that they did, it has some of the angles is a little less easier to produce. I was thinking from a manufacturing point of view. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think it's going to really galvanize the Model 3 aspect. And then whatever else that they do in that one, they're probably going to trickle into Model Y and in other parts of the platforms of the S and the X, whatever they improved on that, and vice versa. So I think it's going to help propel sales. I think even in Europe, it's already starting deliveries. So I think the hype that we were all talking about, well, you were talking more so than I was. I didn't think it was going to be that big of a change, but it really surprised me. And I think
so are we gonna see a surprise in Q4 numbers, production and delivery, which will come out January 3rd? Are we gonna see a surprise?
I think so. I think it'll be more than what we were expecting, because if you actually sat in the car and looked at it and felt it, I feel the steering wheel is better. Just the monitor thickness, it just feels more firm, and it's just better quality. It doesn't feel as flimsy or whatever you call it. Like it's in corners, it's like little touches that they put into it. Everything is just, and I love, and I'm in design too, right? So I see the details is so nice. The textures, they got rid of the wood, and the Alcantara feel. It's just amazing stuff. So I think it's going to really help push forward for the people who are kind of on edge on it. I think it's a very, very good value, especially when you're getting at this price. Yeah, I really want to change my Model 3 for that one.
Okay, Brian, they kept the price high. They did this because they want to do cost reductions. So there should be a contribution to margin. How many vehicles do you think, is it enough to be able to really make a dent to Q4 numbers? And then most importantly, to surprise, because if they surprise, then that could be a pop for the stock post Q4.
So because they don't break down, Tesla doesn't give us the depth of data that would give us a great answer. Has Model 3 been being sold at its capacity? We don't know if they were running at 90% of capacity, 100%. So the big question is, can they make enough to surprise? And I think the answer is yes, because they did the changeover last quarter, and the new line is more efficient. So ideally, but even if they beat last quarter's numbers or a normal or their best quarter's numbers for Model 3 out of China, that's still only a small percentage of the total vehicles made worldwide. So even if it came in 20, 30% higher than its best quarter, that's not going to result in a 20, 30% pop because Model Y is most of the global production. What they can do to shift it around to offset that is you can sell Model 3s from China or Fremont into Canada, and that's how you balance it. Is if demand is faltering here, you start shipping more cars to Canada and less from China to Canada and send those Chinese ones either to the domestic market, and I think we'll see a big end of quarter push for local deliveries, and also more of them can get put on boats and shipped
Wait,
out, which
I'm
we've seen
confused.
quite a bit of.
Local deliveries. They're not doing Model 3 Plus here in the US.
No,
You're saying from
but
China to Canada.
right, from China to in China, they didn't take both Model 3 lines down. They took one down first with the other to follow shortly thereafter.
Okay.
Those older ones were just being sent presumably to Canada primarily and other markets in the Southeast Asia. If there are cars coming out of China that could be sold at a higher margin either in Europe or China or more quickly, they could do that. And that shortfall that would have otherwise gone to Canada can be made up for by US Model 3s.
Gotcha. Okay. I think we just lost Sat. I was going to ask him, Sat, are you back?
He's back.
Wanted to ask you what you're thinking. So you are pretty close to the stock. What are you expecting to happen to the stock in Q4? Sat? Can't hear you.
Uh-oh.
Okay. So let's continue this. So we what other things other than Model 3 Highland, the Cybertruck? We talked about FSD licensing. What are the other potential things that can happen? Is there going to be an announcement for any new factories, Brian? I know that they said they're going to slow down Giga Mexico, but what about the expansion? I just reported with Amy that there are been signs of expansion in Giga Berlin. You saw that latest news was that Tesla was pretty confident that they were able to address the protests about the expansion request, and then they were going to do the expansion in mid 2024. Megapack factory in Shanghai, it looks like it's moving forward as well. Is there any kind of like announcement or additional lines in Texas? What's your expectation there?
So the biggest thing I think that could make a quick impact is the macro environment in the market improving.
Yeah.
But in terms of new factories, yeah, they could announce something. I believe the Megapack factory will be unannounced until it's either done or just about done. Lathrop was already half done before they went ahead and made that announcement, made it known that it even existed. Those are things they could do to time the market, they can schedule those announcements when they want rather than when they must.
Okay. So, Sat, can you hear us again? I was just asking you, what do you expect with the stock in Q4?
In Q4, I don't know if it's going to go up that much higher. It depends on like the announcements, if they have anything new, how the event for the Cybertruck is going to go, and the handoff and whatnot, and the ramp up. It's going to be slow, so we'll see about that. The other thing about the Model 3 I wanted to comment is that it may not have a lot in total numbers, and it's not broken down individually from like the 3 and the Y. But if it helps to beat or be at the number that they said that they would produce, the 1.8 million at the end of the year, I think that's when it becomes more impactful. So if they have enough to let it push it over that, that would be a surprise for the quarter, right? So I think that's one aspect. It doesn't have to be that vehicle by itself. It's just the total number that's more important for everyone. At least that's what everyone else is looking at. So I think that's the impact I think would be there into a surprise. I think the Tesla Energy is growing really quick, a lot quicker than most people are thinking, and the impact of it too. So I think it's going to continue growing into Q3 to Q4. And I think that's going to be a bigger story. And then what the gross margin is going to be. If they're going to maintain at 24, is it going to go higher? Then I think that would also push another surprise into the announcement in January.
What about the IRA, guys? So the IRA 7,500 is going to be at the point of sale in January 1st. won't people start realizing in the month of November and December that that's happening? And isn't that equivalent to a price cut?
Boy, I don't know I don't know that if people are watching it that closely, I'm not sure that it's as critical as that. I mean, you could also just, you know, maybe move some money around, or maybe just make your payment term longer and then make a big capital reduction on the loan next year. But the bigger thing is into next year when people are getting that, because a lot of people don't understand that can affect your price. They haven't done the math. But they will have a coworker who bought one and they'll say, wait, you're not rich. And they'll say, no, I'm not. I don't have to be. My payment is only blank because of the $7,500 point of sale reduction. It would be nice if that were somehow communicated from a central perspective. I don't know, maybe make a video about it and put it out on television. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud here.
I don't know about that, but I'm talking about Tesla investors. Investors are ahead of the game. So if they see this coming, you know, yeah.
Well, it's also the holiday season, so typically the Q1 is not the highest producing selling quarter, and you have the Christmas bills coming in. So I don't know if it's that necessarily gonna, maybe it offsets it for some people, but I don't think they're gonna be like, oh, let's go shop in January when you have just an entire couple weeks of holidays from December.
Right.
All
So
right,
I got
nothing.
I got a question on my side. Will the profitability of Cybertruck slow its ramp?
Slow its ramp. Tell me why that is. I got a couple of questions here that was very confusing to me. This one says,
yeah.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room? There's at least 4 Tesla customers reporting $98,000 price for the Cybertruck. And somebody says $105,000 for the Cybertruck with FSD. So why does it matter if the price of the Cybertruck is really high? We know that there's tremendous amount of customers who's going to buy it anyways. In fact, the higher it is, the better. Why is this not a problem?
Well, the first thing I'd say on that is that's a rumor, and it was one rumor, and then a few other people. I haven't seen additional reports of it, but if none of them are known people, it's not real until you show otherwise. There were too many red flags, and one of them was that 7,000 price is not locked in on FSD for everyone. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That was the whole point. That's a bold claim that requires bold proof. And saying, well, I'm not going to say who sent me this email because I don't want to sour things with, buddy, you're not under an NDA. Get real. This isn't real. But if the price is high, it's high. That's just it. In response to this question about profitability slowing the ramp, it's making the mistake of thinking that they're being sold at a negative margin. It's the cost of the equipment being amortized that's going to negatively impact it. So considering Tesla has never sold a car, not even the original Roadster, below the cost of making it, that means that they will not be selling these below the cost to actually make it either. There will be a positive gross margin, just not a positive net margin. And that means the faster you ramp, the faster you get back to profitability overall.
Yeah. What about you, Sat? Anything else that, please share anything that could be a surprise in Q4, or basically you think it's going to be flat all the way until next year, right?
The thing about the ramp up for the Cybertruck, I think also breaking it down a little more, and I think it's interesting. I was reading the biography, and then I saw it live, right, from 2006. I saw it live, and then I'm reading the book and hearing the behind the scenes of it, and how much Elon's focus on cost is. So when you're absolutely right. Like he's not going to make a vehicle that's going to be losing per unit. It's going to be produced with the cogs being lower than the price. That's for sure what they're going to do. So whatever the price is going to be, it's going to actually be a profit for making that unit. It's just you can't make it profitable, quote unquote, by the financial terms, because you're ramping up the entire line. So when you break that cost of the line in, then it's not there yet. But this is specific too. Like I remember specifically at the shareholder meeting when Model S was ramping up, and someone had asked the question, when is the break-even point? And straight up, no split second wait, Elon said 8,000 units. So they already know exactly how many units to get to the break-even point for that platform. So it's not like the other OEMs, which I'm kind of more concerned of. They can't produce a unit that's over the cost and then sell it. Like the cost is overrun. And I saw some of the analysis that's like, it's crazy over. Like you can't, it doesn't matter how many you ramp up if you're losing money on per unit. So I know the Cybertruck is going to be produced at the right cost, and it's going to be the right price. So it's just a matter of ramping it up to the units that they need to break even and so-called a volume production, standard or whatever number that is going to be. So when they get to that point, it's going to have a positive effect on the financials, no matter how small it is, because every unit's going to be profitable. You're not going to have that with that problem with Tesla. And that's the thing. All the other OEMs can't make a profit on the EVs. Till this day, they're still losing money on it, or their specs are really low, like 200 miles or whatever. That it's a completely different kind of segment.
So, Sad, you can settle a debate between me and Brian. Earlier, we were talking about, is Cybertruck launch on November 30th and the following month, is that going to pop the stock at all? Any chance at all? I don't think so. Brian thinks that there might be.
I think if there is a pop, it would be temporary.
I can accept that.
It's going to be a big event, so people are going to look at it. People are already excited with all the Cybertruck they see that's being tested in the wild. So someone's going to review it for sure. Some more photos going to come out. I think it's going to be really, but I because of the economic climate and all the stuff that's going on, I think there's a little bit of like tempered part of that kind of gloom kind of thing that's going on. So unless it's something like really big in terms of numbers or something that's unexpected, I don't think it's going to happen. And sometimes I also think that because we're all in Tesla and looking at every detail, I think it's going to be something that's going to be completely different. That's going to come in a surprise. That's going to really push the stock up. Like I never thought the supercharger collaboration agreement would pop the stock up, but that was the catalyst for the stock to really drive up early in the year. I didn't think that was doing. I mean, I knew that at some point that's probably going to happen because they're the biggest network, but I didn't think it would make that kind of impact on the stock. But it wasn't because of the fact that it's only going to be maybe a couple billion in revenue at most, or a few billion at best, right? But that's not the reason why it went up. It's because it legitimized the confidence of Tesla, and that they're like ahead of the game basically. So that confidence was more of the reaction to the stock. And I think at Tesla's business model and how many business they have, that confidence in getting that affirmation from other legacy companies that the average person doesn't know about can see and say, oh, that's legit then. I think that psychological part of the confidence is going to really push Tesla up. And we know all the stuff, but the average person that's out there may not, or the analyst that's looking at 100 different companies will not know that. So I think it's going to be something completely different that it's not going to be there. That's really going to be the thing that's going to really push it up.
I see the limiting factor at this point being battery production, because we've now seen the 20 millionth cell. It came not that long after the 10 millionth. But remember, even with 4680s, you're talking 1,000 cells per truck. So that means if you make 1 million batteries, you've only got 1,000 trucks worth. So 10 million is 10,000 trucks. There's still some room to improve on that. And I think it's going to be I think building the lines is far easier than getting the batteries.
Okay, I'm going to counter you again, Brian. Sorry, buddy. Sorry. But
I'm ready.
Batteries are very, very important. I'm on the line here saying it's the most important thing. But we just heard the announcement that CATL, which is next door to Shanghai, is now launched. They just talked about the 20 million cell of 4680. None of these move the stock. So it's more like if there's an announcement that the batteries is an issue, that's going to make it fall. But more announcements of things progressing, not really, because it's kind of built in.
Okay. Now, what we haven't talked about yet, AI Day 3.
Yeah, so I got a couple.
Go ahead.
Yeah, let's do that. AI Day, and the other one is FSD. Okay, let's talk AI. Okay. So you said earlier, which is true, right? Obviously, any improvement in the macro, that's going to pop the stock for sure. But if macro stays the same, there has been an AI boom. Despite a terrible macro, many companies' stock has popped up. Some people don't think that Tesla's been properly valued for its AI, especially when they announce all these supercomputers that they're doing. Is there any kind of potential that people will start recognizing that Tesla is an AI company in the next 3 months and then start making the stock move. What do you guys think?
I'll let you go first.
I think when the V12 release will probably have a bigger impact with that line of thinking. If V12 comes out and it's really phenomenally better, I think more people would be looking at it as a progress in the AI sector, and that's making a profit. As FSD has always made profit, so I think the V12 coming out, if it does come out in the next 3 months, I think that would help push it up. If there's any progress in terms of the robotics stuff that's going on with the Optimus bot, I think that would also help. So I think it's not like they're not working on it just because they don't announce it. So I just, and then one thing I want to point out is like, I see all these financial stuff, earnings call, and I feel like Tesla's not given due credit for how hard the stuff that they're doing. And so, 20 million, sell, that's a phenomenal accomplishment, because that thing is really hard to produce, which is the reason why none of the other OEMs are doing it. So I just want to put it out there.
I think that's fair. I would say AI Day 1 didn't move the stock. AI Day 2 didn't move the stock. Battery Day didn't move the stock. And Autonomy Day didn't move the stock. So it could be that we're in a different market now that people are watching NVIDIA and all the other AI players. They could be more sensitive to news from this front, and the news could be more exciting this time. We don't know. We could find out that maybe Dojo clusters are operating in tremendous volumes that we were unaware of, or that Optimus is significantly closer to real world application than we had realized. Those could, but I'm just not convinced those would actually do the trick.
Yeah, and AI Day 3 is, I think, been announced, or they haven't announced it, but there's information that it's going to be in Q1 of 2024. Morgan Stanley had a private meeting with Tesla, and that's what they told them. So AI Day 3 is not till 2024. Now, here's what happened at earnings call. Elon punted the question about, is bots going to be in the production line in 2024? And he said that I think that there might be best to wait for a demo. I think that there's a demo about to come. And that could be, in my mind, if there's any surprises in Q4, it could be the demo of the bot, because of a couple of reasons, right? One, it is referring to the progress for AI, which we just talked about. And then two, it's just something that, we've been talking about what kind of chat GPT moment needs to happen, either if it's FSD or the bot. This could be the thing. When people see the bot doing, tasks that it shows that it's actually very viable in a production line now, that could get investors going, okay, this is a bot company now. Right now, they look at it, they go, oh yeah, Boston Dynamics can do that. They're not recognizing the brain. And so if they can demo that this brain can do something, that could really ignite it. And so I think that there's going to be a demo. That's why he punted that question.
A demo would be exciting. I don't know if it would move the stock. And a lot of us
I disagree with you.
Are so deep inside of this that, we'll watch 4-hour technical videos and then go back and watch them again because there was too much to digest, and then watch 5 videos examining it so we can actually wrap our heads around it. But people on the street, if it doesn't fit in a punchy headline, it's not gonna sell.
No, I disagree with it. I'm telling you that of anything that Tesla does, it's the bot that's going to capture the imagination of the public. Even if you see a car driving itself, that doesn't seem to make anybody excited. But if you see a bot doing things, that's the thing that could make it happen. We need you again, Sat. Break the tie here, or it's not a tie, but.
Well, I think there's a video that is actually showing tasks that they can do, which, well, to be honest, like the progress from the first video to second video is already huge. And one thing I noticed in the factory tour is that the first video of the bot, I didn't think it could water the plants. The second video, I think it could water the plants already.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I see that progress. That's huge progress. If he's doing yoga, he could walk and water the plants. And I think that would be the first task in the factory, right? It's like I asked, is it live plants in the factory? It is live plants. So if there's a third one that's actually sorting stuff out, he's actually using his, neural links basically to figure out what to do. then I think it would correlate with the fact that, I mean, Nvidia's like financials show that they're actually making revenue off of the AI side of their business, and that legitimizes, and that's also anything related to that technology. All those companies rose in stock. So it doesn't even have to necessarily be only about Tesla. It's just the whole industry would rise up if there's something else, and then they have proof that's correlating with it. It's just how that's correlated and how the news is displayed or told is going to make a big effect as well. So I don't know how big it would make an impact, but I sure don't think it's going to be negative. That's for sure.
It's going to be big, guys. It's going to be massive. You guys know Christian Valente, right? He's one of our cyber bulls. He's an investor. He's a trader. He will invest in Tesla, but then leave Tesla. And he really felt like Tesla was an earnings, kind of how he, used the PE ratio. This is how many investors look at Tesla. It's an auto company. Let me look at the earnings. And then he sold a lot of Tesla stock, and everybody just jumped on him. He's back again. Why? Because he now sees that the bot, and now he can easily understand in his head that the bot is an options play for Tesla stock, because it's easy to understand, right? That if the bot works, the TAM for that, the revenue for that, the number of uses for that, and you can sell is unlimited. He gets that part. And so now you see that this has become reality. This is not just a video that was mocked up. It's actually physically there. And so when he saw the second video, he changed his tune, invested again in Tesla. I'm just telling you that this is obviously an anecdote of one person, but it is the easiest thing for the public to latch on to understand. It's a massive market. Tesla has a product, and it's going to just capture the imagination. So I think that's the only thing that could happen in Q4 that could possibly pop the stock, other than, of course, an FSD licensing and or maybe a OEM capitulating. Some gas car company showing that they're in trouble, big trouble, something like that could then, again, like what happened with the supercharger, solidifying Tesla as a, basically not only a leader, but it's going to have a wide open market.
Well, I think they're already in trouble.
Of course they are, but some event needs to happen, right? Otherwise, it's a slow burn over 2024, 2025 before somebody goes bankrupt, but some event needs to happen to really, again, capture the imagination of the people that says OEM companies are absolutely in trouble, not just, oh yeah, but they've got lots of cash. Oh yeah, it's a blip. They'll recover,
So a question I got in the chat that I think deserves attention is, what would we consider to be a nice big moon kind of share price by the end of the year? Is it 300? Is it 400? What would be like your best, most exciting case for the stock at the end of just not that many days from now?
Well, you know how things have changed, right? We're now at 220, whatever it is. I try not to look at it. I think if we just happen to get back to 300, I'd be very happy by the end of this year. Certainly, I was hoping it was going to be over 300, but now it's really just anywhere close to 300 would be so wonderful for me.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to go back up. I was looking at it, that it was on track to go to 290, and now I don't know if it's going to even make it to that anymore, because the climate's changed. People reacted negative to the earnings call. I have to say something about the earnings call. I feel like Elon has always been very optimistic on earnings call, and there's only a couple of times he's actually a little bit more gloomy or a little more realistic in some sense. But he's being honest. He's being as honest as possible as who he is, and then he gets docked for it. And then you go and hear other autos like earnings calls or company that's not doing well. They make this picture of like rosiness that's going out there, and in reality, it's nothing like it. In reality, the financials are nothing. Like there was one post on GM's financials, you could barely read it. Like they had to go to that kind of like shenanigans. So I feel like people are reacting really negatively. It's like, no, it's kind of normal. Like production hell's normal. So I don't know why the announcement's there. It's finally being executed and being made. I think it's a positive thing. And I think it's very good that he's being cautious about certain parts. He was earlier in the year. He was correct about it. People are like, oh, he's he's sandbagging the 1.8 million. No, it's just there's other factors, and there was economic factors and wars and whatnot. So I think he's being really actually pretty prudent about the situation, just like in the beginning years of Tesla, even in SpaceX. Like, and that's the reason why he's successful. So I feel like people are getting away from what actually running a business is going to be like when you have new products on the line, and then just looking at the numbers and the financials, which it's important, but that doesn't tell the whole story. The most important part is like how you're managing it. So I feel like there's more positive stuff that's actually there, but people don't want to see it because he wanted to lay it down to be more realistic about the situation. And people always told him, "Oh, you're being too optimistic." And if Steve was too optimistic, and people would hound on him. Now he's being realistic. It's like, "Oh no, you're being negative." So it's like, no, it's like, what do you mean? He's being as honest as he can be. So I feel like in the Q4, because of people's reaction like that, I think it's detached. And I don't think if people are looking at, and a lot of times then analysts are talking about numbers and deliveries, they're looking at like a car company. It's not a car company because you can't arrive to today's evaluation of Tesla, even today, to say that's a car company. You can't. You have to put in all the 5 other major businesses and other ones that they're going to start doing too. So I feel like the negativity is just part of the whole climate. And I think that's why the stock is, getting hit with it, which is good for people who want to buy. It's a discount. That's what I want to do. But unfortunately, this is discrepancy. I don't think it's fairly valued at this point.
Over or under?
I think it's under.
I feel the same, but we're all a little biased here, I think. You're absolutely right. If they were selling 10 million cars, 20 million cars, these prices would likely still be too high, because you could say, well, right, but they get a better margin than Toyota, or Toyota gets great margins, by the way, but all the legacy guys tend to struggle with their margins. But when Tesla's at 10 or 20 million, it is likely the others would be catching up as well, and that there would be margin erosion at that point. And I would say that, yeah, it is kind of a difficult place to be in, where you're trying to find $500 billion or $1 trillion in value when everyone else is topping out around 100 billion. So but these other lines are coming online. We're already seeing some analysts assigning value to Megapack, which makes sense. It's churning substantial revenue, and it's only growing. And we will see other lines coming on, things like FSD, Robotaxi, bots, hopefully. But all the others too. Solar is absolutely the forgotten child, but that's kind of another matter. And I don't see solar doing anything to the stock in either direction this year for sure.
But
okay, so let me bring up. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you see any improvements in gross margin in Tesla Energy, or making more progress than that?
Can be huge before.
Well, the thing. So Tesla Energy is a couple different things. It's selling the physical products, but it's also auto bidder and owning them. In terms of selling them, I don't see the margin improving, because even with a 2-year backlog, they continue reducing prices to match their cost of goods sold, which to me is a little surprising. I would think they would want to move more out the door, but I think they also want to show good faith to these big buyers and say, look, we're not gouging you. We could, but we're not. 25% is enough margin for us on these very high ticket items. So I see the margin on Megapacks remaining steady for the ones they sell, and of course increasing for the ones they keep for themselves, like the one in Texas that was codenamed Gambit Energy, which is operating to the east of Houston, I believe. And then there's also the Megapack installation at Giga Texas, which will be switching on soon, and it will begin arbitraging energy on a daily basis at outrageous margins, I assume. So those will see high margins, but the sale of them, I don't see that margin expanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to bring back the topic of bots, because I think that bots is going to be the thing that's going to happen sooner than most people. So I'm going to show you this one tweet from George. Says, did you know Amazon is testing the Digit humanoid robot already? So yes, I did a whole show with Scott Walter, with many shows on Digit, Agility Robotics. They have the very first manufacturing facility in Oregon that's going to hopefully produce 10,000 bots. They just dropped this video showing that in Amazon, there's actually digit robots. Now, this is a humanoid, but it has pinchers and it doesn't have a brain. It can do pick and place. It can grab an item and move it to another area. So I think they purposely dropped that video because they want to, again, beat Tesla to the punch. I think that Tesla is going to come out with a video showing the bot. The bot is here. They were waiting for it to build and scale, and he said that he thinks maybe November or December, that's when they'll finalize the actuators. But the bot can already do work in a factory today. And again, we're not saying that the bot needs to be sold to any retailer that you can buy to do your laundry or dishes. It just needs to do pick and place. Grab an item in one place and move it to another. Okay. People don't understand that those industrial robots that exist in thousands of almost every single factory, they can only do pick and place, but it has to be a specific, perfectly located place where it grabs it and needs to be put in exactly the location where it is. I did another video with Scott Walter, who co-founded 2 robotics companies that are those industrial robots. That's what he's done his entire career in life. There's a place for the pick and place for an industrial robot. There's a place for a human robot who can grab an item in what happens to be some different location at each time to put it in another location that happens to be different each time. And there's a place for a humanoid robot that has wheels. And there are thousands of jobs that can be done in Tesla's factories today that can do a humanoid robot today. So it's okay that Digit is out there. Digit is fantastic. It's going to have a successful business and it'll grow so much, but the market for bots is so big. And so I think that when Tesla shows that this humanoid robot is actually already working in their own factories, they're not needing to sell it, in doing some of these things, even though they don't have revenue to say, they're going to be able to show significant amount of reduction in cost for their own cars. It's going to be, you can start translating this to what is the margin reduction, cost reduction, because they're using bot. And then the biggest sentence that he said at that earnings call was when he said bots making bots. So this Digit, Agility Robotics, has zero experience building a factory, has zero experience creating a manufacturing line, and they don't even have a brain. So Tesla can create, once they say this is about to go scale now, if they say that somehow we got this plans of how many bots we're going to make for 2024, just that statement alone is enough to pop the stock. Then they show that it has the brain that can do things. And then when they go bots making bots, at that point you realize that not only can they make thousands of these, hundreds and thousands and millions over time, but if bots can make bots, no one can catch up to them. Like even if a big giant company who is a manufacturing firm creates the scale this as Tesla does, but if they don't have fingers and they don't have the brain, bots can't make bots. You can't get that Digit making other digits. And so when you have bots making bots and you have the scale that Tesla has, the costs producing these bots are so much lower than anybody else that you can't. Anyways, this story is going to come out. And it may not happen in Q4, but I'm just thinking that's the only story that can ignite this really doldrum, at this moment of, if we're thinking of Tesla as just a car company, this could make the difference.
So I think the neat thing with the bots is that the minimum viable product, in order to put it into commercial application, is vastly lower than anything else.
Yes.
Because you can create narrow use cases where it's flawless, where it doesn't have to be able to change a diaper or cook dinner or vacuum stairs. But if you need it to vacuum stairs, that's one thing we can make sure it can do. And that's something you don't get with FSD.
Yeah,
FSD has to work everywhere.
So this is my point earlier, Brian. Let's break this down, okay? AI, in January of this year, 10 months ago, if you ask people, what's the likelihood that AI is going to be able to be, the best lawyer, the best doctor, it's going to be able to do the Turing test this year? 99.5% of people would have said, never in my lifetime, not in my lifetime. Now, what? Maybe only 10% of people think that it won't be able to do it. They don't realize that it's already here. And the same thing is going to happen with bots. Just 3 months ago, every time I talk to somebody, they're going, you're so stupid. No way, bots are not going to happen in my lifetime. Or they'll go, it'll be 5-10 years from now. No, it's here. It's here. It's working now. You see the digit already working at Amazon. Tesla's what they demoed already can already do a production. There's still people telling me today, no, you're wrong. If bots won't be here. Do you not know how hard it is? We're talking about a very specific job that's very limited from 5 feet away, from moving from one place to another place, pick and place. You can already have thousands and thousands of jobs to do that. Anyways, my point is that that moment comes when they do a demo or they show that it's working, everybody's minds flips, and it's no longer 5 to 10 years from now. It's next year, and then investors will come piling in.
And a lot of these things that are impossible quickly become possible through AI. You look at image generation from a year ago, and it was hilariously bad. It was, 8-fingered people and the incorrect number of eyeballs. And now you look at it, and it is breathtaking. It's the people look real. The settings that you design can look as fantastic or poor or plain or anything you want, and it works already. Marques Brownlee had a competition for a video where it was his graphic designer versus, I want to say, Dolly 2, which is pretty antiquated at this point. And he put in these very complicated prompts, and the designer spent all day making 3 images. And at the end of it, what they decided was, I think two or three of them went to the human, but all 3 of the ones that were created by AI were perfectly usable, generated in seconds, and as close to free as you can get. And this is the older technology. This will happen with all the applications. You couldn't write a bot that could do prose or poetry or humor a year ago. And it was thought you probably never could. And now what you get is sometimes terrible and sometimes very unbelievably good and inspiring.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I used to have a bunch of milestones, and as we go through these milestones, none of them pop the stock. So we had the earnings call. Usually earnings calls don't pop the stock on the first week, but many times in Tesla's history, the earnings calls is consistently, the stock rises afterwards, consistently going up, because it's a recognition that Tesla's volume has gone up. That didn't happen this earnings call, and based on his mood, it's not going to happen at this point. The Model 3 Highland was revealed. We all saw that it was very successful, but it may not, people don't think, it's just a revision to the Model 3. It might take till 2024 for them to see increased sales. The Giga Mexico announcement, he said that they were going to delay that. And so it's harder to see the expansion of the current factories as important as it is as a net new factory being built. The Cybertruck launch, we had that debate already, whether or not it can do it. Is there a volume and delivery beat that can happen in Q4, January 3rd? Could that happen? The Tesla bot demo we talked about, AI Day 3 won't happen until Q1 of next year. 4680 in high volume production didn't happen, but there's improvements. But again, it seems to be a slow improvement. It's what people are thinking. There's not going to be a gigafactory announced this year. Tesla Energy was reported this year, which was fantastic that we see in Q3, and a meaningful contribution. Didn't pop the stock. FSD, OEM licensing, that has to happen if that happens. But it's a bet. And then the IRA. So I don't know.
We're running out of year is the problem, and all of these are known. I think the biggest factor could be the thing that we don't see coming. It has been in the past. The Hertz making their big announcement was out of the blue. Ford making their big announcement that they were going to adopt North American charging standard as theirs was just the beginning of all the other dominoes. And while Tesla saw it coming, we didn't. I mean, we all assumed it would eventually happen, but the announcement came as a bit of a surprise to me, and that did change things for the better, I would say.
Herbert, do you have the App Store as one of your highlights?
No, I mean, we
I
talked
think
about it
that
at a previous show with Brian. Just now, we did. I'm going to be launching that show in a couple hours. We talked about the App Store, but there's signs that there's App Store kind of elements in the Tesla screens in the cars. But why would that pop the stock? Because yeah. You tell me.
well, I don't know if it'll pop it there, but it would definitely identify another business stream, revenue stream that wasn't there before. And that's being legitimized by other game companies to say that we're going to contract with Tesla. And that's why I think it would have an impact, because of the confidence of the other companies willing to work and then put a lot of money behind it to work with the car. So I just think of it like Apple has 20% of the market, but it has 80% of the revenue. It's not because they sell more units than the other competitors. It's because people buy more inside the phone and related to the phone. So, and their accessories business have grown huge now. Their AirPods and the Beats headphones and whatnot. So I think there's that aspect of it where I'm trying to look at it from the perspective like what other companies are willing to collaborate with them, and then their news becomes Tesla's news rather than Tesla making another announcement or something different that we don't know about. I think it's being more about other companies making an announcement, working with Tesla, or in relation to that industry. That's going to be more of a surprise thing that would galvanize it.
Yeah. So I ran a poll to see what the viewers thought the stock would be at the end of the year. 62% said between 2 and 300. I think that's probably the right answer.
Yeah.
21% said 3 to 400. 12% said under 200, and only 3% said over 400. So that's, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good.
12% said under 200. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's flat now. We're basically there. And if there's no news, even if they do an interest rate pause, that's not going to do anything because interest rates are high. They need to bring it down before it impacts Tesla's high asset sales. You know, another thing that could boost the stock would be Tesla financing. Unfortunately, so there's this confusing thing that happened, right? So in the earnings call, did it not say that there was a partnership with a Tesla with a financing arm? They mentioned something like that. But then at the 10Q that dropped, Alexander Mertz pointed out that Tesla deliberately drew down their financing because they don't want to be on the books if customers can't pay.
You can have a partnership where you're just doing the one originating the loans, packaging them, and moving them out. So, for example, when you get a mortgage, the bank that if you go into a Chase Bank and get a mortgage, they will write the loan, but they will not hold the loan. And even at Washington Mutual, where I worked, we would service the loan. So you would make all your payments to Washington Mutual for the life of the loan, but they didn't hold the paper, the underlying paper. They would instantly sell it, get it off the books, because fixed rates in a variable rate world in which we live is risky. And banks got really burned in the 80s when they were sitting on a bunch of mortgages under 5% and rates had gone up to 15. Banks failed over that. So they would no longer touch them, which is why they would secure them. So Tesla could be doing that. They could be the originator of record, but not the holder of the underlying security.
If they can promise that the monthly fee goes down because they're going to, do an 8-year loan financing partnership, that is equivalent to a price cut without the price cut. And that would be possibly something viewed significantly, but doesn't sound like that they're going to do this.
I think that's correct. You do see a lot of companies will do those introductory offers of 4.99 whatever 0% financing just through the end of the month. That's something they could do, and they don't have to pay the entire interest amount. It's all done by equations. Most people will not keep the loan for the life of the loan, but many will. It's just literally they would just be prepaying some amount of interest on your behalf to get you a rate of 0. And if we need a demand lever, that's one that I suppose exists that you could do, and it wouldn't be as necessarily as painful as a price cut because it wouldn't affect cash buyers, and it would only be on the amount of money borrowed, not on the whole purchase price. So it would be potentially cheaper than just discounting the vehicles outright. What a great chat, you guys. I
Yeah, we
appreciate
covered
it.
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to thank everyone in the chat on my channel, everyone in the chat on Herbert's channel. I want to thank, of course, Sat and Herbert for joining me on this very unusual simulcast, going out live on Brighter and on My Tesla Weekend at the same time. A competition, if you will, to see who has better viewers. And I say it's a tie.
Boo.
It's a tie. Oh, I'm sorry. Is a tie not good enough for Herbert?
No.
No, just no.
Sat breaks all of our ties, Brian.
Well, that is helpful because we do have quite a few things we'll disagree on. And that's important. If we're just saying the same thing to each other over and over, I mean, I could write a bot that could do that.
All right, man. Well, it's depressing, but hopefully we'll have some potential things that happen, pop the stock and get us back up. But again, doesn't matter. Everything we just said about business fundamentals, we're doing fantastic, and this company's going to succeed, no regardless.
Yes.
Thank you, Sat, for joining.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.